call Dennis O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. New Zealand First will be happy to continue to support this bill. I'd have to say, before I ask some of the questions I'm going to ask in a moment, that I've only been given this bill in the last hour to speak to, so I haven't had really the time I would like to have spent on it before I've asked these questions. And it may be that some of the questions I'm going to ask have already been answered at other stages of the bill, which I haven't had the opportunity to hear. So if that's the case, then I apologise for that, but I think I should raise them anyway. If some of those members opposite would just like to breathe through their nose for a while, I'll take that opportunity now. First thing I want to raise is this, and that is the principles in section 4, which I've heard the member and the chair say are very important to the bill as a whole, and I agree. They're obviously a primary part of the bill. It is stated in the commencement in subsection 1 that the Council must recognise and provide for the protection and enhancement of the Wellington Town Belt, and then it goes on in B to say have particular regard to a number of principles. But each and every one of those principles are framed with the words should be managed, should support, should be accessible, should be available, should be encouraged, should be recognised, and so on. So I just wonder whether that's appropriate language in a section which is supposed to be empirical. And I wonder if those words should be and so on could be interpreted as introducing an element of discretion or not. So I'd like the member and the chair just to think about that and whether we should be taking this opportunity to make an amendment to that part, should he feel that that's a problem. And just further on that issue of those principles, I'm looking at other parts of the bill, and section 8 is obviously a very important operative part of it. However, there is no reference there anywhere to those principles. And I would have thought that it would have been advisable to do that if the principles are going to be really central to the way in which the Council exercises its functions. Then it might have been a good idea to add them to at least either subsection 2 or 3 of section 8. And I would say the same thing about section 10, and I heard the member say how important he thought that was, and I would have thought, for example, in subsection 2 of 10, there might also have been a requirement for the Council to exercise its functions having regard to those principles in section 4. I just make those comments constructively in case the member thinks it would be helpful to make some changes there. If not, then we're not going to die in a ditch for them, and that's fine. I'd like to go on and just raise some questions also about SOP 169. And first of all, in the new subsection 2 of section 16, the reference is made to no more than 8 hectares in total. I don't understand what is magic about the 8 hectares, and I haven't been able to find any reference to it anywhere, and perhaps we could just know why that figure has been settled upon. More seriously, though, I would like to raise, especially with the member, some of the wording in subsections 3 and 4 of new section 16, as proposed in SOP 169. And I read in B, the words not be granted for a term including any renewals exceeding 20 years, and in subsection 4B, the same words are included, including any renewals. Does the member think that the inclusion of those words will actually prohibit the Council from granting a lease to the same lessee after 20 years and renewals, should that actually be required by the Council and desired by the community? And the same in 4. Would it operate as a prohibition? And if that could be the case, is that what's intended? Because this is the time to deal with those sorts of issues. Mr Chairman.
Dennis O'Rourke.
Mr Chairman, I haven't got much more to say. Over the page, and I'm all still looking at SOP 169, in subsection 5, I'm looking at the words, the council must spend all money received under a lease. Would there be a problem with regard if, for example, there were rates payable under a lease or insurance or other payments made under a lease that obviously are intended for specific purposes, which might be caught in an unintended way by those words? So I just raise that again constructively in case the member thinks that there might be a problem there to fix. So I hope those comments might be helpful. Otherwise, as I've said, New Zealand First is very happy indeed to support the bill. We just want to make it as good as it can be.
Mr Chair.